So that's kind of a short where the Green Party came from. Were there any immediate questions on that, or should we go to the next section?
There's one that's kind of related to what we were talking about from YouTube. It says, Steve Talbot asks, are there any groups engaged in subverting the Green Party from gaining power based on the excuse that they are a threat to national security? To respond to that personally, from my perspective, that's like a last ditch level of profession, like a last level of repression, right? to officially come out and say the Green Party is banished for this reason that we are legally justifying through this this gymnastics operation of banning you, right? They would prefer not to do that, because that just completely removes the mask, right? That completely pulls the veil away, to say, well, how can the U.S. even claim to be a democracy when they're openly banning opposition parties? So what do? Right? Well, we live in a two-party system where it's it's two-party everywhere, right? It's not like we have regional or state-based parties that have, outside of maybe the Vermont Independent Party has elected some people, or like the Working Families Party, which generally runs on a "we're going to endorse the Democrat in the end anyway" platform. They're just there to they openly say they're just there to change the conversation. But outside some kind of outside of a handful of situations, it's Republicans and Democrats who run the show everywhere. When they run the show everywhere, that means they get to write the laws. So rather than saying Howie Hawkins can't run for, the Green Party can't run for governor in New York, in the middle of a pandemic in 2020, the Democrats made ballot access even harder in New York. So now they have to collect 42,000 signatures in 45 days, and you have to double it. So they've got to collect over 80,000 signatures in a month and a half, right? You don't have to say the Greens aren't allowed because they're a threat to national security when you can write the law and kick us and keep us off the ballot and keep us out of the discourse, through legal strategy rather than in legislative strategy. And the same goes for things like the media, right? Are for all intents and purposes, when it comes to ballot access and that kind of stuff, our for-profit corporate media is essentially state-run media. Blackouts are enforced on third-party candidates by the media. They don't necessarily, they may or may not, who knows what's happening in back rooms and if they're getting actual direction, but they have a vested interest in maintaining the duopoly that we have now, where the Republicans and Democrats are the two major powers and they have total control. So, to go to the question, we aren't at a point in our society where, the people who don't want us to be an option are having to go and say the Green Party's banned, right? Membership is illegal, or they're not allowed to participate. And that's because they're still allowed to use these legislative maneuvers, ballot access laws, media blackouts, campaign finance rules, all this stuff to keep us down. And, for instance, in 2018, the Illinois Green Party filed a suit with the Supreme Court. But we filed it before then, but it came to the Supreme Court in 2018. And in Illinois, we were suing based on unequal U.S. House race requirements. So, for instance, in my district in 2020, if you were a Republican, you had to get about 750 or 780 signatures. If you were a Democrat, you had to get about 750 signatures. And if you were a Green, you had to get 16,000 signatures from one congressional district in 90 days, and you have to double it. So you're going to have to get 30,000 signatures from one single congressional district. We sued the state. We went all the way to the Supreme Court with it, and the Supreme Court of the United States, this is Trump flipping it hard to the right. The Supreme Court wouldn't even hear the case. They said, we got no problem with that that, and we don't see that as a threat to democracy, right? So we're not even at the point where legal challenges are having any, success. In New York, the Libertarians and the Greens are suing about the new law, but they're out petitioning right now, right? I bet Howie, it's dark now, so I bet Howie's off the streets, but Howie spent his day petitioning because we can't rely on the courts. We always, we always get told by people, oh, there's an opening to sue here, and oh, there's an opening to sue there, but rarely do the lawsuits work. So the courts are still maintaining a legal repression of us, and that means they don't need to get into, actual public banning of parties. They can just keep us suppressed other ways through the avenues of power they control.
Yeah, I think those issues that we face, the kind of the struggle we face as a Green Party, I think kind of leads into our third topic area here.